The state sustained over $90 million in major damage from storms in December and January. Governor Mills went to Stonington today to sign an executive order regarding adaptive infrastructure. Grace Bradley takes us to the waterfront for more.
On Tuesday, Governor Mills visited Stonington Lobster Co-op, a business that was, like many, severely impacted by the December and January storms. There, she signed an executive order to establish the Maine Infrastructure Rebuilding and Resilience Commission.
Over the next 12 months, this commission will evaluate Maine's response to the recent storms. It will identify near-term investments and policy needs. It will develop the state's first long-term infrastructure plan by next May to make sure that we are as ready as we can be for the storms that are inevitable. Commission members are ready to meet with local officials, business owners, and fishermen to learn about the community's response to the storms and their future needs.
This executive order coincides with the largest storm investment in Maine history.
A $60 million plan for rebuilding and recovering from the January and December storms, funding which is now available to be applied for.
With commission members from multiple industries speaking directly to those affected, it's the governor's goal to create interdisciplinary collaboration to tackle this multifaceted issue.
We're drawing upon the expertise of people in all diverse occupations and backgrounds. It's not an academic exercise. It's a real-life thing, and we expect to have some real-life solutions to these real-life problems.
If we can work together to come up with some creative solutions so that as we face more of these kinds of storms, because they are going to continue to happen, we've already thought through how do we make sure that we're protected against further damage? How do we protect our fishing infrastructure, our marine infrastructure, our downtown economies, and those infrastructures? So I think that having this commission will really help.
Grace Bradley, WABI TV5 News, Stonington.